Okay, so Immanuel Kant was an 18th century German philosopher who is most notable for his work on ethics. He observed that there is an objective right or wrong based on reason, and his argument can be summarised in one quote. "Two things fill my mind with awe and wonder, the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me." First of all, the starry heavens above me is a metaphor, implying that sciences and forces such as gravity are absolute, and thus, moral law within me is also absolute, i.e. things are always right, things are always wrong, in any circumstances, at any time, for all people. It is important to identify now that Kant's theory is deontological, not teleological. It is based on whether the action is right or wrong within itself, rather than based on the consequences. There are three types of statement. Number one, a priori analytic. This is knowledge which is gained through reason. So, for example, all spinsters are women. Number two, a posteriori synthetic. Now this is knowledge which is gained through experiences. So, for example, if I say that the fox is behind the tree, I must use my senses in order to find out whether this statement is right or wrong. Number three, Immanuel Kant said that moral statements are a priori synthetic. Therefore, we cannot use experiences to test morality, so we gain knowledge of it by using our reason. However, they could be right or wrong. Kant's starting point for morality is based on the idea of a good will, and he expresses this as a quote. "It is impossible to conceive of anything in this world, or even out of it, which can be taken as good without qualification except a good will. Good will makes our actions good, and when we make a moral choice, it expresses goodwill. Talents, abilities and virtues do not count for anything, only the goodwill. And from this comes Kant's idea of duty. To understand this, we need to quickly go back to the moral argument. Kant said that we have an obligation or sense of duty to act moral. Moral actions should lead to happiness, but it is clear in this world they don't. So there must be an agent, God, who can bring happiness together when we act moral, and this Kant calls the summum bonum, the highest good. So we act moral because it is our duty. A duty is a motive for acting in a certain way which expresses moral quality. So therefore, duty makes goodwill good. There's no answer to the question, why should I do my duty? We do duty for duty's sake. If we take an action on something, the motives need to be pure and from duty. The action should not be for inclination, self-interest, affection or recognition. It's not easy to separate actions done from inclination to those done from a sense of duty, but it is important to note that it is the reason and the motive behind the action. So stemming off from reason, Kant says, comes three things. Number one, goodwill. Number two, duty. And number three, moral laws. Kant said that there must be an objective basis for morality, or moral laws we can follow to do our duty. These laws he calls the categorical imperative. Now, Kant distinguishes between two types of imperative, hypothetical imperatives and categorical imperatives. Hypothetical imperatives are not moral commands to the will, as they do not apply to everyone. You only need to obey them if you want to achieve a certain goal, and that is why hypothetical imperatives generally begin with an if. So for example, if I want to lose weight, I should go on a diet. Categorical imperatives, on the other hand, are moral commands to the will, as they tell people what to do, apply to everyone at all times, so we can follow our duty. They apply to everyone, according to Kant, because they are based on reason. Now the categorical imperative can be split down into three maxims. The first maxim is that all actions must have universality, or as Kant puts it, act only according to that maxim, by which at the same time by which you can at the same time will it that it should become a universal law. The first maxim is that all actions must have universality, or as Kant puts it, act only according to that maxim by which at the same time will it that it should become a universal law. This law states that if you take an action, and the rest of the world did it also, would be morally acceptable and sustainable. So take the following situations. If someone needed money, they would lie about their financial circumstances in order to borrow it. This is a self-defeating maxim, because if everyone borrowed money, and everyone lied, it would come to a point where everyone is borrowing money, and nothing anyone said could be trusted. This would not be sustainable in society, and this means that you can never lie, ever, to anyone, under any circumstance, for any reason. Secondly, a man is thinking about taking his own life. Kant would find this unacceptable, as if everyone followed the action, the human race would eventually become extinct. Extending from the universal law becomes the concept of reversal, whereby an action is acceptable if you would find it acceptable if it were being done to you. The second maxim is that we must treat people as an end rather than a means to an end. This is saying that we must respect each human being equally, and we can never manipulate or exploit anyone in order to achieve our own goals. To treat people as a means to an end is to deny their right of making their own rational choice of action. So for example, it was wrong when the English harboured slaves in order to mine valuable minerals. Another circumstance is where if I told my brother to give to charity, and he did so without making his own rational choice, it would be unacceptable. However, if my brother took into account what I had said, and then he decided to give to charity because he thought it would help people, it would be moral and acceptable. The third maxim is that we must all act as if we're living in a kingdom of ends. This is saying that we must live in a world where everyone is following the categorical imperative, and there cannot be any exceptions to the categorical imperative for anyone. So the same man cannot say, "I'm going to take my life out of love," whilst knowing it breaks the first maxim. Furthermore, everyone must act as if everyone else were their own free and rational moral agent, so by complying with the second maxim. In summary, it's absolute. No exceptions. Kant's ethical theory is based on the idea of duty, and following the categorical imperative as part of our duty to be moral. This can be summarised in Kant's three-word phrase: ought implies can. If we ought to do something, then we can do it. Every option is possible, and through reason, we have the free choice whether to pursue it or not.